I'd like to thank everybody giving up your lunchtime and joining us. So I hope this will give you some different kind of food and that fill your spirit, and so you don't feel regretted after this session. So thank you for joining us. So first thing I want to read is this particular disclaimer. The view and opinion presented here represents those of speakers and should not be considered to represent the advice or guidance on behalf of U.S. Food and Drug Administration. Now I can talk as Ethan. So the first thing is we're going to talk a little bit about the FDA and the CDER overview of that. I guess most of you know what we do, and the information what we present here might help you to understand what is CDEROne and why we built CDEROne. Then my colleague can talk a little bit more about the AI capability that's enabled by the CDEROne platform. And we'll also share a little bit about how we're going to moving forward. So FDA at a glance. So we're Food and Drug Administration, which is a regulatory agency as a part of U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. So what we do is to protect and promote public health by regulating various of product. And our job is to ensure the safety, efficacy, and the security of those products before they reach the market. So within FDA, there are about 7 offices and centers. So they're ranging from the centers regulating the food, regulating the drugs, regulating animal drugs, regulating the tobacco products, devices. We do have an office who perform inspection and enforcement for all the centers. So there's a various of centers responsible for regulating different type of products. Today, as you see, we're regulating about 20 cents of each dollar the US consumers spend in United States. So you can see we cover a very broad range of product. In CDER, we're approximately 6,000 people strong among 15,000 federal employees in FDA. So that's the size of CDER, just to give you an idea of how big we are. So when we're going to talk about FDA, we do need to know it is a pivotal arm of US FDA that we oversight, which is the CDER's job. The regulation of the drug is being done by CDER, and the CDER's mission is to protect and promote public health by ensure the human drugs that's safe and effective for their intended use, that they meet established quality standard, and we ensure the availability to the patients. That's a very important part of our mission. So in general, we're talking about what CDER does. The CDER's job, of course, is starting with receiving drug applications from applicants and the sponsors, what we call the sponsors, because we do have a user fee act that the sponsor paying us a fee to reviewing the market authorization applications. You're all starting with investigational drug, and which is the people will try to doing the animal study, prove the safety of the chemical compound before they be able to conduct clinical reviews on the human being. So that's the first thing we do, is make sure the drug is safe. Then after that, if the company intend to market in the United States, then they will submit what we call a new drug applications. Then they're seeking for approval for FDA to market in the United States. Once they get approved, a small percentage of them, it's about 55 that get approved, the new drug application. get approved in the United States last year. And it is a small percentage of the application that submit to us. Then they will be protected by patent and exclusivity over the years. And after that, for the public interest, we want to cut the drug price by make what we call the generic drug available to the American public. So we're processing the applications called abbreviated new drug applications. So the abbreviated new drug application, the sponsors will need to prove the chemical compounds they submit as part of the application is equivalent as what's being approved in the new drug applications. So then multiple pharmaceutical company can submit application for abbreviated, what we call the ANDA applications. So when those are available, that you go into the pharmacy and they call the brand name for generic drugs versus brand name drug there, then it's much cheaper. You have a much smaller down payment, out-of-pocket payment for that. So it's an important part of the work that we have last year in FDA. We approved approximately a little bit less than 1,000 generic drugs each year. So you compare to the new drug that we approve each year, about 55, I think to the generic drugs is less than 1,000 to make those drugs available to the public. So in general, what you're seeing in the pre-market application, we receive approximately 400,000 submissions each year. And that's the amount of work that we need to do as a part of what we call the pre-market drug application process. So, but our work does not stop after the drug application is being reviewed and approved or rejected. Continues after the drug is being approved. So once the drug is being approved, we publish a book called Orange Book. So in the old day, they are literally an orange covered book, and then pharmacists is using. And there's also one called a Purple Book for biological products. And those are the ones being used in the pharmacy. You're going to Walgreens, you're going to CVS. Those are the ones that your pharmacists look at those books there and they look at what's being approved, what is the generic drug version of the medicine that's being prescribed by your doctor, and then you get the medicine. So this is how it works there. On top of that, our post-market operation is not limited to the Orange Book or the Purple Book we publish. We also want to make sure the pharmacovigilance and what we call the pharmaceutical quality assurance program is in place. So what those work means, if anybody experiences adverse event, you can submit a form to FDA to report this particular adverse events, either the pharmaceutical company or individual citizens. You can always do that. And each year, we receive over millions of adverse events that's been processed by CDER alone. And the CDER have their process, especially during the COVID period of time for vaccines. We also monitor that as well. So in addition to that, we also have compliance activity, which means we enforce the good clinical practice to make sure the clinical study are being conducted up to our standard. We have a good manufacture practice of being that enforcement to make sure all the drugs are being manufactured up to the same quality, so every pill that you get is consistent, and it would be able to treat the indication as what's being approved. So that's the work that we're doing. Not only that, we also want to make sure the critical drugs are available to American public. So that also means the critical drug supply chain are insured. We monitor them, and anytime when citizen has a opportunity to, or they notice a drug shortage situation, we have a portal that allows citizens to report to us. There's a couple, I think, weeks ago, there's a CNBC news about specific drugs that being able to report to FDA via some tools there. Those are something we just experienced. So you can see our work is very broad, across multiple areas, from the pre-market operation to the post-market operation. What I mean to those is each of those business process requires substantial amount of data that's supporting our review process. Starting from the pre-market submission process there, we have about, each year we have, I think our total number of sponsor submitted information somewhere about 200 to 300 terabyte in size, that let alone the information that we generate, FDA, during the review process that can be referenced. And each of those processes are unique. So each of the office that are responsible for that specific operation oftentimes have their own analysis program, analytical needs to supporting what we call data-driven decision-making process as a part of the overall operation that CDER has. So that should give you a nutshell of what is our operation, how much data that we have, and why we need to have a platform like a CDEROne. On top of that, we all know, as our keynote speakers can join us tomorrow, he's becoming a richest person in the world. Why is that? Because of the AI capability requires such a computational power that only GPU will be able to provide. That means in past years, when the OpenAI really introduced an opportunity for every citizen to see how AI can change our life, we're not an exception of that. So starting from the federal government side, the executive order also give us guidance and requires to establish a government-wide effort to guide responsible AI development and the deployments through federal agency leadership, regulations of industry, and the engagement of industry partners. In this particular executive order, it includes 8 requirements for HHS, which has specific language related to drug and the device regulations. So in that area there, we're under the federal regulation and executive guidance what we need to do in the AI area. Not only from the policy and regulations, which you see, there's a part of the pharmaceutical company doing a lot of work. They spearhead, establish AI capability in many areas when they're preparing the drug submissions applications to us. So what we're seeing is increasing number of the submissions that contains AI components. So since 1995, we receive about 300 plus submissions that contains AI components. And that number is increasing every year, as what we're seeing right now. So those are the challenges that require our regulation and the guidance, how we're governing those components will need to be updated, and our ability, our capability in FDA will need to be continue to be improved and enhanced to address this kind of challenge. So our FDA Commissioner, Dr. Khalif, had made a bunch of statements about the value of AI can help FDA. So that's all available in the FDA website. And what we also have is multiple papers already being published and generated by FDA staff, and being different journals and everything. And I won't be surprised in the next round of user fee negotiation in the Prescription Drug User Fee Act and the Generic Drug User Fee Act, they will have some type of AI conditions as part of the commitment for FDA to fulfill. So those are things that why we're here for, and it's definitely the things that we're noticed that we need to address as well. So those are the challenges that we have. It's the amount of submission is increasing, as I mentioned. We annually, as of last year, we received about 400,000 submissions a year. And that is not only the numbering increase, but also the contents are becoming more and more complex. due to the nature of the information that need to submit for us to review. What it also means is traditionally that we have in each of the review discipline, in each of the operation that we have those on-prem silo system that each of them focus on specific area of review operation. Now we more and more see the needs cross this particular boundary, cross each of the silo system, how we be able to derive insight when we putting those data together. So those are the things that we see. We no longer just reviewing within one particular discipline, but we'll be able to getting information across multiple systems to supporting our decision in an unprecedented way. So that's what is necessary, given all those challenges that we have, the increased number of submission, the growing complexity of the submission that we get, historically on-prem silo data, and there's offices that will require in each of the discipline, they want their own analytical capability that depend on their own subject matter expertise, and they want to be able to build those self-service capabilities. There's another need. And of course, given the growing demand of the AI capability to supporting their work. I mean, we almost getting, somebody's calling us like every day, when can we have the AI capability to supporting my work? And look at the news there, this going to be able to answer all the questions I have, right? So everybody get excited. And what is reflect to us as a supporting for fulfilling their needs, the amount of challenges and the pressures is substantial. But everything starts with the data. You can't deal with and address any of those challenges without data. The good news for FDA is we're sitting on the gold mine of data. We're not lacking of data. It's not like the organization that they're continue to looking for production data, they have to synthesize the data. That's not a problem for us. We have the data. So we have substantial amount of data, but they're in different type of quality. And as you know, not all the data are standardized. And we still receive substantial amount of data in unstructured format, in PDF, in Word. We finally get rid of paper. I would say 99.97% of submission that we receive today is not in papers, in electronic format. But there are unstructured, substantial amount of unstructured, semi-structured data that we have. So it is a challenge, it's continue to be a challenge. So what it means is we need to have an enterprise data platform that will be able to ingest both structured and unstructured data and aggregate them and clean them and being able to put them together to supporting various needs, various review needs in different review process, process into what we call an enterprise data management system that we call as a one-stop shop that will be able to support the broad business needs for CDER. So that's what we need to do, is that's the drive for us to creating what we call the CDEROne enterprise system, and which also means in CDER, because we are the custodian for proprietary information that sponsors submit to us, and many of them are patent protected, we are obligated to having a robust security measure to protect those data that we're custodian of. So the environment need to be established that fits FISMA authorization to operation criteria in our FDA AWS environment. So we recently, working with our Deloitte team and the Databricks team there, we finally being able to get the FedRAMP certification for the Databricks environment that we have. But that also means what the type of security measure that we have to put in place to make sure our platform being able to sustain the robust security requirement we're subject to follow. So that is one thing we did, is an enterprise architecture for our CDEROne enterprise data platform. Now, we mentioned we have all those data, and they are not only the sponsor-submitted data, but FDA-generated information, previous reviews, they all reside in multiple silo systems. So the key component and the requirement for such an environment is being able to centralize those silo data in one platform that allow us to support in various needs. So that is another thing that we do, is the function we provide as a part of the CDEROne platform. We are also equipped CDEROne platform with multiple analytical tools there. We have quite a bit of tools that we're going to elaborate in the later on, next slides there. Those capabilities, so they no longer need to be established in each of the silo systems. They don't need to have reporting capability in the silo system. It's all centralized, but they're available for different type of needs. Where we also enable is what we call multi-tenancy, that different offices that be able to build up their unique analytical capability to supporting their work by themselves. That's what we call the self-service tenancy there. So with all those key features that we made available in CDEROne platform, we'll be able to support from the executive level to the regular review activity, being able to support many of the advanced analytical needs ranging from the data analyst, data sciences needs, and the machine learning engineering demands. So that's why we're building this CDEROne and why those capabilities are established in the CDEROne platform. So what do we do on this one there? And the CDEROne is established using and equipped with what we call the industry-leading data analytical capability that includes Databricks. So it's centered around the lakehouse concept. We actually certainly debate a lot in the beginning when we architected this particular solution. We review multiple cost tools there. We're facing a buy or build decision, just like many of you will experience. So we end up choosing the lakehouse, that data lake, as the core of our CDEROne platform. So today, what we have, and the CDEROne capability is cover ranging from traditional BI capabilities, such as dashboard, visualization, reporting, building, and everything, to the area of enterprise search capability. Built on top of OpenSearch, we have the enterprise data catalog made available. We implemented the zero trust security policy by enabling attribute-based active control, access control, and providing all the advanced analytics ranging from the GraphDB to the data sciences, to supporting the data sciences needs there, and equipped by the generic AI and the large language model capability. So in my next session there, my colleague Vanubapana is going to share with us more about what insight, what architecture that CDEROne is providing. Yeah, Vanu, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Ethan. So far, Ethan has discussed on CDER's mission, the challenges, as well as the complexities around submissions. Now, I'm going to get into CDEROne Analytics Platform and how it supports regulatory submissions for the reviewers to make decisions. Now, to create any advanced analytic solutions, it all begins with centralized data. The CDEROne data layer is built on data lakehouse, on the Databricks data lakehouse. It has all the tools, technology, data consolidated from multiple sources into a single platform. Now, this provides foundation for data engineers and data scientists to develop and prepare data to support their, starting with the traditional BI reporting or even moving towards advanced generative AI solutions. Now, as you can see, on top of the data lakehouse is the analytics layer. This is where solutions are developed by our traditional subject matter experts for the traditional BI reporting, for self-service reporting, or advanced data scientists who can utilized for AI, ML, or even generative AI solutions. Now, all of these solutions support various business processes across CDER offices. Now, you can see between post-market to the pre-market to the post-market, as well as supply chain surveillance system. Now, let's get into some of the benefits. Now, while it's important to ensure that the centralized data is available for our data scientists, it's equally important to equip them with the tools to conduct their analysis. Now, with ready-to-use production data, data scientists can develop, train, and fine-tune models on the representative data, and then that's suitable and fit for their purpose. Out-of-the-box model training tools such as MLflow allow data scientists to train models and even fine-tune to improve their performance. Utilizing the cloud infrastructure, utilizing all the AWS environment which we are in, now they can scale up and use high compute resources as needed to run their jobs. And finally, once the models are deployed, it's necessary to continuously evaluate and monitor the outputs to ensure that the models are meeting the expectations. Now, let's get into a couple of use cases where using CDEROne Analytics Platform, where our data scientists were able to take advantage of. I'm going to cover one AI and generative AI use case. Now, as mentioned previously by Ethan, a major portion of FDA regulatory review process involves reviewing documents. Well, I didn't mean to sound our reviewers' job boring. Trust me, it's much more fun than reading Sherlock Holmes because there is so much of the science, engineering all coming together between the biology, chemistry, engineering, manufacturing, all of them coming together. Now, as sponsors submit these documents, FDA must process this immediately so that to help make decisions. These are like, there are a lot of dependencies like a goal date commitments that are part of the GDUFA-PDUFA requirements. Now, however, as these submissions come in, they come in a variety of formats. They can come in tables, they can come in text or blobs of images, and so forth. Further, these documents can be in hundreds of pages long. Now, this can add complexity of review process. And as regulatory submissions increasing, as Ethan has indicated, right now we are receiving about 400,000 submissions a year. Now, as these submissions are increasing, now this poses a challenge to FDA. Now, this is where AI/ML presents unique opportunity on how we could improve the process. Now, in this scenario, as the submissions come in, they come in as a semi-structured documents where the sponsors indicate about the facilities and their supply chain roles that the particular facility is performing. Now, as the submissions come in earlier, our review staff have to manually read the submissions and then identify what supply chain role that particular facility is performing and manually had to enter to the system. Now, this is where we wanted to take advantage of how AI/ML would, instead of manually reading and identifying those supply chain roles, there are about 35 to 40 potential supply chain roles where the AI/ML could predict and actually present the expected role. For example, a facility could be either a manufacturer or a tester or even particle size reducer and so forth. Now, in all of these critical steps, we wanted to ensure that human is involved for validation. Now, to have this confidence on the data and also to prevent the hallucination or even model biased output, we ensured that human is involved in this entire process. Now, let's get into the details of how this solution was incorporated. Now, as you can see, for this use case, incoming submissions that are, we get probably 400,000 a year, and these are coming in daily, tens of hundreds. And as they stream in real time, we have enterprise OCR tools that process the data, and then the data is moved into the analytics layer. From here, utilizing the historical data that we've accumulated for past 10, 15 years or 20 years, as well as the data stewards' suggested curated data, we built, utilizing all of this data within the CDEROne Analytics platform, the data engineers were able to develop and prepare data for, to support the further fine-tuning of the models, or the model development. Now from here, data scientists can take advantage of all the, utilizing the tools, data, everything all consolidated with the metadata, all from multiple sources. They could take advantage of the platform, and they were able to quickly develop, test, and evaluate, and perform consistent verification, and then deploy this models to the production. Now, we were able to take advantage of out-of-the-box ML flow, which easily integrated with the entire from development and scaling up and evaluating and conducting analysis, right? Now, after the, using through the ML flow, after it was deployed, we were able to integrate easily with through API calls for the data stewards to evaluate the recommendations made by the model. Now, as the submissions come in real time, the data stewards were able to look at what the model is predicting and evaluate with the, what the submissions are saying. And if they did concur with that, they would allow it to become a golden record, like as our master data. So that becomes a golden record. Now, for this multi-label classification, going back a step, we used XGBoost, where we were able to utilize the new incoming data as well as the trained data by stewards. Using the data stewards' data, we were able to train the models and continuously perform the analysis, and then we were able to deploy all of this. Now, through all of this process, it's now become as a recommender system where we wanted to ensure as the documents come in, there is a human verification just so that we don't run into hallucination or model biased output. Now let's get into another interesting use case. This is using a generative AI. The second use case is quite interesting use case. During COVID, we needed to extract information buried in millions of pages of documents. I'm talking about 1.4 million pages, where this is a critical information to understand supply chain vulnerabilities within the, starting from the supply chain, the starting materials node, all the way to the end of the patient and the hospitals. This is the first in the line of the supply chain. Now, the problem statement for this use case is how to extract specific entities from large sets of documents. In other words, how to, a needle from a haystack. This use case is where we were able to use it, utilizing LLM, we were able to extract that information, taking advantage of pre-trained large language models. As mentioned in the previous use case, CDER deals with the large volumes of data. Now, this can take significant time for our reviewers to go through all this millions of pages of documents, especially during COVID. This was a very short span. We had to extract this information to be able to support to all the way to the, in some cases, a higher level in the government to identify the vulnerabilities within the supply chain. We needed to provide this information. Now, this can take significant time, obviously, to go through manually. Now, the other key statement here is transforming unstructured data into the structured format and able to identify the supply chain vulnerabilities across will help FDA to conduct surveillance and be able to prevent drug shortages. Now, similar to the last use case, It starts with the data lakehouse, where we have all the unstructured data, structured data, and tools all consolidated into a single platform. To begin with, our intent was not to go and build large language models because it's the thing right now. To begin with, we started off with using a simple, straightforward approach of using a regex pattern to identify patterns within a blob of text to identify if that critical entities, which is in this case, chemicals that are within these documents, if we were able to extract that information. But we quickly realized that it's a lot more complicated and we really needed some complex solution. And also, this problem required a unique approach. It's end of the day, we had to go with the two models. One is on a pre-trained specific large language model, and the other one is a general model, which I'll get into the details. Now, to identify these chemical names, we used a named entity recognition model called BioBert, which is already pre-trained on all the chemical universe of chemicals through multiple education institutions as well as enterprises. Now, identifying from this large corpus of documents, we were able to identify set of documents through our metadata that is already established. We were able to identify this set of documents that contains chemical names, and we passed the documents to BioBert to identify the chemicals within those documents, and we got back the results, very successful rate of almost 90 to 95%. Now, the second part of the challenge was to identify suppliers that are supplying these chemicals. Now, within the same document, there is chemicals as well as the suppliers listed. Now, to identify the suppliers, that's where we had to go with a general LLM. In this case, we used a FLAN-T5, and for the documents that contained a supplier, we built a Q&A routine to ask FLAN-T5, is there a supplier within this document? If so, give me the first supplier, second supplier, because there are multiple suppliers. And we were able to get back all those results, and then we were able to consolidate between the chemicals and the suppliers and build a database. Now, through all of this exercise, one thing that is most important aspect is we were able to deploy all of this within a very short span to meet the necessary requirements about identifying the supply chain vulnerabilities. Now, all of this was done within the Databricks Delta Lake platform, utilizing our structured data, unstructured data, metadata, as well as the tools, the large language models, hosted everything into a single platform. Now, as with the previous use case, an important step through all of this is ensuring human verification. During the validation and after the rollout, we had the key metrics, such as the precisions and recalls metrics within the dashboard. So as the subject matter experts were evaluating, they can really have an opportunity to look at the trustworthiness of the data by looking at the precision and recall metrics. Now, the data, this allowed FDA, especially during the COVID, we were able to identify those key attributes or chemicals within a very short span, and now which allowed us to help with conducting surveillance on the supply chain vulnerabilities through all of this process. Now, this is a very good example how we can really take advantage of large language models. Now, through this, we are looking at working with the Databricks to train further and fine-tune models within our own internal data. Right? So while developing these solutions, several challenges arose, and which the team was able to quickly address those challenges. With the multi-tenant architecture, CDEROne supports more than 10 tenants across CDER offices. Now, as Ethan indicated, with the complexity within the business, with the multiple business domains and the data models, it is significantly complicated to have a holistic overview of the CDER or FDA assets. Now, FDA being a federal agency with the sensitive data, we needed to be on the FISMA high GovCloud secured environment, and that is where we were not able to, we needed to utilize Databricks SaaS environment, which is supposed to be on the FISMA GovCloud high environment. And to enable us, we are working closely with the HHS and FDA and Databricks to have that sponsorship so that not only FDA, across federal agencies, they would be able to take advantage of a FISMA high GovCloud environment for all of their needs. Now, as a government agency, FDA deals with a lot of sensitive data, necessitating us to be on the FISMA high GovCloud environment within the AWS. Similarly, data must be accessed on a need-to-know basis, which is controlled by RBAC, ABAC, PBAC, which are all part of the zero trust tools that we are working towards. One thing CDER has realized is the hallucination and the model bias, and this is where we wanted to address this and mitigate that risk, ensuring human in the loop as well as subject matter verification is all part of this whole process of development. Now, finally, in this presentation, we have gone through where CDEROne identified its data modernization needs, to where it established data lake as to support our augmented analytics needs. From here, it takes consistent monitoring of ever-changing landscape, AI landscape, to continue to stay focused on and forefront on and adapting to the new technology as it evolves. Now, here is some of the opportunities that we could take with the new evolving AI and generative AI to support CDER's mission. I'm going to quickly pick two examples here. Leveraging AI to identify submissions containing real-world evidence, real-world data, and applications leveraging innovative clinical trial design. And AI also can be useful to help build models to identify supply chain disruptions and potential shortages. Now, as our commissioner, Dr. Khalif, indicated, eventually, our reviewers, compliance assessors, and inspectorate, and the industry that they regulate will use AI in everything from data collection to regulatory assessments, coding, and post-market surveillance. For us to be most effective and do our jobs as protectors of public health, it is essential that we embrace these groundbreaking technologies to improve the chance that we will be applied effectively, consistently, and fairly. Now, I'll quickly pass it on to Ethan for closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. I know we're dragging a little bit longer, and we've been going through 5 years, and today we have about 3,700 users, about 2/3 of CDERs on the platform. We have about 50 data sources and 17 use cases that have been developing CDEROne with 14 tenant space. So what I can say is that our challenge is real. Our resources are limited, but we also see the opportunity with the technology advancement, with the AI capability that moving forward that we're going along with. So we're here to learn, and we hopefully will be able to continue to leverage the industry best practices and advance our technology platform to support our mission. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'll stay here for the public sector discussion there, and I'll be happy to answer any of the questions there. Thank you.